Oh, got painful there at the end. Juves, it felt like we were settling in for a long match there for the first half, and then one bit of weakness, and suddenly Chiefs just shut it down.
Yeah, it was quite a slow game, but I think we saw, the best and the worst of both teams, right? It feels like Direwolves as a team are very reliant on coming out of laning phase with a lead. When they have a lead in lane, just from being better players, in which, happens a lot in the OPL because they are really talented. They have a lot of high, in terms of the solo queue ladder, they've got I think they hold like the top 5 or top 10 spots. So individually, they're very good. But this game, it feels like they kind of let it get away from them because they didn't have the lead that they necessarily need in lane phase to kind of know what to do with it. And Chiefs, on the other hand, had a game plan, stuck to it, had a tempo jungler, and Croc was able to really just win the game off securing neutral objectives and focusing turrets in the top side of the map.
Yeah, that's one of the things, right? So the Direwolves played pretty heavily towards the top lane to try and keep TN down. He was 0-3 at one stage in this game, but he was still a Sylas and he was against an Ornn. It wasn't a Kayle in top lane, right? Where Chippies is just going to win the game from that. And anytime they did look to make those plays, generally it was traded gold-wise across the map elsewhere. And that's a Caitlyn that's just been free to play to her own devices and scale up into the game. And we just hit that point in the game, right? Where you look at the Caitlyn, you're like, that's a monster. They just group mid, and that's all that you really need at that point because they got there fine.
Yep, and you'd also have to put it down to, it was just a little bit of a mechanics max. There was so many skirmishes, specifically 15 minutes on into the game in mid lane where it could go either way, right? Like Shock lands a multi-man knockback, gets 4 people into his team. The Chiefs are just, quick on the flash buttons, able to disengage, kite that out, and really just win the skill check, right, in the 1v1. And, you can talk about how well a team's played in a macro sense, how well a team's played in lane, out of lane, this and that. But when it comes down to it, and you get to a certain level of play, there are times where you're just going to need to click your buttons better. And it feels like in crucial moments, Chiefs were able to do that. And you know what? It's something that we see from them consistently. We've seen them do that week after week in the OPL. And, it was evident when they even made the Penta one week, right? For one of the team fight miracles that they had. So Chiefs are a team for me that you don't want to skill check. You don't want to say, we're dead even in gold. Let's put it down to a team fight because it looks like they win 9 times out of 10.
For sure.
Obviously, we've seen Chiefs a rich history of success within the OPL. Direwolves have a similar situation where they were very dominant there a couple of years ago. There are some newer players on these teams, but there are some veterans. We're moving to this best of 5 scenario. Rusty, which team do you think is going to benefit from the experience of being able to be put under this kind of sustained pressure?
I'm glad you bring that up, actually, because someone that I wanted to talk about in that game was Dragku, who I actually thought had an outstanding game. He was a big part of the mechanics maxing in team fights. Yeah. And this is someone who you don't see in playoffs very often. You look at the rest of the rosters, and there is a storied history there, playing recency, of course, last split being in the playoffs themselves. But Dragku comes in and is kind of that blue shell and goes above and beyond my expectations in a game like this because he mechanically popped off as well. And that worked seamlessly with Croc, who comes into this game, gets his Nidalee, does the same thing. So looking at just this, Nick, I think you'd have to say Chiefs have come in with red-hot form.
The thing that I like to take away from game ones, obviously, is draft. And I think Chiefs have been plagued by poor drafts all split. But it seems that in the first game, at least, they've nailed it. But I would say that fundamentally, Chiefs haven't played very poorly throughout the regular split. What they have done is draft very poorly. And so a lot of the time, I think that, games have been decided by that for them. And this was a game where they got it right. But the one thing I want to touch on was what Rusty just said. It's like, yeah, who has the experience and who has this? And Dragku was a person that, mechanics maxed in that game, if you will, on Nautilus. But he actually showed no fear. And I look for that in a playoff game, right? Is he flashing forward, trying to be proactive, making those plays, landing those hooks? And it looked like the Chiefs were the ones just willing to pull the trigger. And we saw, time and time again, they were the ones that were starting with an Ornn ult. They were the ones that were starting fights with the tools that were given to them just by the Sylas pick, right? How many times did he start a fight with a Bard ult, with an Ornn ult? At times, you have to take stock check and think, is Chippy starting the fight on Ornn or is it Tien? And then you realize, wait, it's Tien. And it just felt like at every single turn or every single moment, the Chiefs were the ones starting the fight. And when you look at the Direwolves composition, the Direwolves composition is actually a pure front-to-back draft. Right? You have the Ornn, the Azir. You want to just put people in front and just team fight. but they were just not pulling the trigger, and everything was reactive. And when you come into a playoff game or you come into a series where you're the one being reactive, I'm gonna tell you right now, in this region, 9 times out of 10, you're going to lose. You know, you have to consider this region very similar to that of like the LPL in terms of how we draft, how we play. You know, some say we don't really have the discipline to have those drawn out, you know, 50-minute games where it comes down to one team fight, and it's just a lot of consistent fighting. And you know, the Chiefs didn't pull they didn't take the correct fight all of the time, but they committed and it worked out for them.
All right, well, congratulations to Chiefs for taking down game number 1. Let's see what the Direwolves can come back with. I'm sure they're going to clap back with a rap, because my goodness, if you haven't seen the Direwolves Twitter page, you have to go there and check it out. I am not normally someone to advocate for early 20s esports kids rapping, but apparently they're way better at it than I was giving them credit for, because Udisoft does... He has put together a pretty special video, Rusty, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, this may be the one time that the OPL has actively complimented Udisoft, because usually he just comes in those videos and trash talks some random person, and we're all just like, oh my god, stop it. But Super Sub Udisoft with a classic video, Nick, you have to watch that one for sure.
When I see Udisoft content, I open it up with the intention that it's going to be cringe. And somehow he has managed to make this really elegant, and not once did he hit that scale of cringe. And I think it's the best piece of esports, Oceanic esports content I've seen in a very long time.
I think what it is, and you like genuinely, you have to go check it out, because we've seen a lot over the course of this split of players trash talking each other and putting together some content of like this back and forth, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, because it may be a little out of their comfort zone or something. But this hits a perfect balance. I think it's a balancing act. It both trashes on other players but celebrates the OPL in general. It's talking about how exciting playoffs is, but also saying that Direwolves is going to win. He genuinely is trying with this, but not in a way that feels weird. Like I think the thing is that his genuineness is the thing that makes that really work. I'm seeing someone in chat say, Ricky Rhodes says, producers just play it. I wish we could. Maybe we could get it here for the next time, because we literally just watched it before the last game started. But yeah, it's very good. So well done, Ubisoft. And also, this is definitely the last time you're going to hear those words coming out of my mouth.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Of course, it is the playoffs for the OPL, but it is also playoffs for the LCK. Juves, I don't know if you've been watching, but you are about to be LCK'd. So let's roll into LCK playoff brackets and get it on.
Okay, I was ready. Yeah.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
It's a lot of gloves.
Yeah.
Prepare
a lot of
for
gloves.
battle.
Are we fighting?
Yeah,
We
we're
are
fighting.
Yeah, that is a ton of gloves. So, Juves, you're obviously not a real OPL fan because you don't watch. But the LCK is the segment in the show where it started off as something where we were like, oh yeah, this would be a good way to fill some time, and now it's become a real burden on our shoulders.
Yep.
that
Yeah,
we
we're
need
stuck
to just
with it.
carry and finish on grand final day. We are narrowing down every League of Legends champion until we hit the OPL decided greatest champion of all time. It is a knockout battle. You will be given 2 champions, and you and Rusty need to decide which one is the best one. The criteria for the pick is literally anything. So it's just what gives you the best vibe, whether it's gameplay, whether it's skins, whether it's just their face. So let's jump into a couple before we get into game number 1. All right, our first matchup, because we've gone through all the regions. We've pitted the regions against themselves, and now we're just pitting champ on champ. So first up, it's Galio versus Sylas. Who do we like more, Galio v Sylas?
We're still in the same region here as well, Nick.
I would say 100% Sylas is the better champion, because when you pick that champ, you get to play multiple champions, and that's the end of the discussion for me, at least. You know, I get to pick Sylas, and I get to play 9 other champs in the game, because really the only ability that matters is the ult.
I was going to say, Sylas has got a big ego, and then I realized his opponent is Galio, who has the largest ego in the world. So I'm just going to go with Juves on this one, because my argument went out the window straight away.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with an ego. The ego is your self-worth.
it's a big one.
So if you have a good ego, then love yourself.
Then there you go. Chat, 59% are going for Sylas, so it's definitely Sylas.
Yeah.
My favorite comment there is KHS2580 says, "What are these idiots doing?" We are literally just a timer before the next game starts, mate. So well done, Sylas. The ego wins out on this one.
Maybe that guy's got
and
an
then
ego.
See, this is why we brought you.
But that guy's Galio.
And then we've got time for one more before we jump into the next game. It's Garen versus Sona. Who do we like? Reminder that the loser just gets eliminated from this competition entirely.
So the recent video that came out with Fiora and Garen showed Garen in a new light for me, where he's not just a yelling barbarian. And I've really come around. I think that Garen's now a great champion, so he's got my vote.
I'm going for Sona because I'm going for Garen because Garen is just.
Oh my god!
Garen,
what just happened?
Garen is like, because Swiper's like Garen made his brand kind of around Garen, and I just think it's he's made me love Garen because I see Swiper running around on Garen with a big sword.
This was an incredible change of heart.
Yep.
And you nearly had the chat on your side as well, because 66% of chat want Sona. So are you willing to change or not?
Yeah, I'll go with Sona.
This is a test
I'm going
of
with
character.
Sona for sure.
Okay.
I'm one of those dudes that anything to please the people.
Yeah, you are weak of character.
Yep, weak of character. I'm scum.
So there you go. Congratulations, Sona. You're in Garen, one of the most iconic characters in League of Legends history. You're gone. We'll see you later. Yeah, there you go. That's how it goes. But the voice of the people was the only voice that mattered in that one. Alright, it's time to get into game number 2. It's Chiefs versus Direwolves. Chiefs took game number 1. What can Direwolves do to bring it back in their favour? Let's find out after this short break and the Macca's Champ Select.
Now, a full 5v5 will take place here. The Dragon is there for the taking. The Soul Point is here for Pensnet to acquire. Stormbringer used to disengage away, but look at that! The one shot on the jungler! The Volibear is gone. Hextech is huge. And the shutdown comes across there onto the Aphelios. That's 1,000 gold into the pockets of Babip. A double kill for Tapoon. Can the big man himself live to tell the tale? There's healing cut to take him down this time. It might not be 17 hours. This time it might be 7. But this time at the late game here, Rusty, they've done the damage. He's well on his way to getting that full item build there. Whoa, he's going to be the one that gets caught out. He doesn't have that flash. This could be huge right now. Can he run? Can he live? Can he survive? Everybody turns their attention onto Olaf, but he gets the reset. He's got the movement speed. Forget the flash. I've got a ghost on cooldown. It is working overtime right now as Tien tries to be the hero, the savior of the day, but it just will not be enough. His entire team have crumbled to the ground. 4 members fall on through. The Tempered Fate, they thought they had it. It had worked all game long. And here we go, jumping into game number 2. The Chiefs lead as they took the first game in their favour. They'll be hoping, based on that EPOS replay there, that they can look to try and tap into some of that magic with the Direwolves. They've locked in the Ashe once again. Will we see a variation on that build? Because the Chiefs, fitting to their fashion, Katsuri, one of the only players that loves to play the center. He's going to get it. And now the set is a pick that could be played by Dragu. We know that it's his go-to coming from that top lane role. It will also be flexed for Tien to show his prowess as well.
Yeah, it certainly could be. We've also seen a little bit of mid-set. I think Bjergsen played it today, and Chovy's been playing it over in the LCK, so definitely some opportunities to be able to move that one around a little bit. Set is nerfed on 10.16, a lot less damage coming out of the E, as well as the W skimmy, so relies on a little bit more of just the raw auto-attack powers to be able to get it done. And Direwolves, obviously, and I like this in a best-of-5, skimmy. I don't know what your opinion is, but you make small tweaks, but your overall game plan should remain the same because you've put a week of work into being able to get like the perfect draft down. And just because you lose one game doesn't necessarily mean it was a draft issue. Sometimes it's, as Ju said, sometimes it's just a micro max from the other team or a team fight here or there that could have gone your way. Sometimes it's something as simple as, you know, just the side of the map you're on. Like, from blue side, it's so much easier to attack neutral objectives early in the game, in my opinion. So, across the board, I think that there are things Direwolves can do. Chiefs, however, also doing a similar thing. Obviously, Nidalee taken away, so they take the flex in the set, but Renekton being locked in, hyperscaling AD carry, Chiefs obviously feel like they can leave their bottom lane on an island and play everywhere else on the map.
And as you touch on, a few adaptations coming into this one, the fact that Chiefs are on the red side, they can actually ban away their Caitlyn, hence why they've gone for the center as an instant response to the Ashe. Don't want to allow Vital to find a pop-off performance there. Jax is now going to be removed away as well. We're going to get to see really some of the, I'm going to call it courage. I suppose really when we've seen Chippies in these long drawn-out series, we saw, I suppose really in the glimpse in Split 1, it was like, yes, I can play tank, yes, I can play bruises, but hey, there's a lot more to me. Vladimir, we're talking Malphite. There are picks that you might not think are my go-to because I haven't shown it, but as you touched on, maybe a few solo queue picks or maybe a few tips from other people have said, hey, watch out for this one.
Yeah, potentially, and I mean, Jax just historically has been a champion that's beaten up Renekton after one item. Counter-Strike negates this, you know, stun, the auto-attack damage that comes across from it, and also still makes him burn the Fury. So I like the Jax ban there. I also think that given the fact that there is a jungle position still open, Jax plus aggressive jungler can really make Renekton's day pretty miserable. And you don't want to get outscaled. If you're the Chiefs, and we keep talking about this, like the whole thing about the Chiefs is they want to be able to fight you at every stage of the game. You give over Azir, Jax, Ashe, like at a certain point, you're just running out of scaling options to be able to match any of those things, right? So I definitely respect it. Getting rid of Sejuani, now that's an interesting one. There is a lot of melee champions so far, so Sejuani could have been a good blind pick here. I don't know whether Mir has a response into it, but we haven't seen all that much Sejuani in the OPL. No. Skimmy, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we've seen like 2 or 3 games of it.
In the jungle position, we've only seen 4 games. Off the top of my head, I think of Croc and Only that have really been the only ones to play it. But it is to say that it could find a little bit of value here. Obviously, a fair few targeted bans in the jungle position with the Olaf removed as well. Both junglers do quite like that one. But LeBlanc, the final one there, this is almost indicating that we don't think that Claire's going to play that Renekton mid again. We think that that set will be in the supporting role. Now that we've got a Karthus, you would... I suppose be more leaning towards that as the Lilia is going to be instant response here.
Okay, this is very interesting. Direwolves are all in on the scaling option. Lilia as a champion, notoriously bad at being able to pick skirmishers early game, but after level 11 Skimmy, it's just an absolute nuisance. Like, just picture Zoe Bubble that can hit everyone. And as you mentioned, the LeBlanc ban kind of hints that Claire's not going to play Renekton again. Well, I think he is, because they've locked in a Camille.
Yeah.
And this is a 4 AD comp with the Karthus jungle. This is literally the perfect Karthus game. If you are the Chiefs, you're going to have pushing advantage in the mid lane. You're going to have the Camille top lane, and Crockett's just going to run around, farming up a storm. Lilia and Karthus farm at similar speeds, Skimmy. They scale both pretty well, but does anyone really outscale Karthus? I don't think so.
No, Karthus is definitely one of those champions that loves to get his brawl on. Likes to force fights in small areas, like when we saw the Chiefs invade to go for that blue buff. You think of a Defile going down in a situation like that, and Karthus is loving life, much like a Scion fighting from the afterlife. Croc will be keen to get in on it in that same fashion as well. It's interesting because we do have a bit of CC, but you'd imagine Ninja Tabby just would find infinite value knowing what you're going into from the Chiefs side.
Yeah, they certainly can. Like, Tabbies are just a very good item against AD users and against auto attackers, as you mentioned. But I just, you know, you go back to the point that you're still going to be playing against a Karthus. And
yeah,
he's going to be the hyper carry of the composition. He's going to do 90% of the damage. Merc Treads aren't that important against Karthus, but, you know, potentially Swifty Boots if he's going to be putting down the wall. There are, like, lots of different options here in this game. I'm just really interested to see kind of what early game we get, because I feel like if Croc has the same priority out of his lane, the same pushing power, and he's actually able to, you know, go with a Renekton or a Camille to find this Lilia, he could shut her down really quickly. Lilia is not a great, like, skirmisher, as I said, until latter stages of the game. So I'm curious to watch this one out. This is a very interesting pick ban to me, Skimmy.
Well, we're going to find out. We're jumping into game number 2. Chiefs lead this best-of-5 series at this stage, but a few adaptations in the draft. A lot of what did work But a lot of what we want to try and change up here, the Chiefs want to continue, no doubt, to be the ones in the driving seat, to be aggressive. But this time they have a lot of options to match the scaling when we compare what the Direwolves are running with. You've got the center, obviously, looking to continue with all those absolution stacks. Camille, no strange to the late game scaling as well, looking to try and cause problems for the Ornn. And as you say, with the Karthus being the sole AP damage, if he can run away with the game, it becomes a little bit hard for the Direwolves to itemize towards.
Karthus is just such a nuisance, Skimmy. I think everyone that played solo queue during the time where Karthus was just uncontested as the quickest jungler knows how, like, I'll just use the word, how, like, dumb this champion is. He clears the whole jungle leashless in, like, 3 minutes if you are able to play him well. And I think that the change they made to him, like, it was kind of, I remember Rusty saying it in the pre-game about the Nidalee, it literally took like 3 seconds off his jungle clear and then made him infinitely more useful against champions with the Skittle changes. So, if there is a good composition for it, he is just so damn strong.
Well, let's see how strong it can be in this game here. Game number 2 in this best-of-5 series. We'll get to see the Direwolves want to rise up to this occasion. They weren't able to contest a single objective in Game 1. Infernal Soul went the way of the Chiefs. They got the Heralds, a Baron, and an Elder Buff to top things off. And every single fight they took, they looked like the ones in the driving seat. A few fights that were quite close where there were options really for the Direwolves to turn around. They had a game plan, had an idea. But the Chiefs were able to capitalize in their typical fashion, really. They find that one big team fight, and they ran away with it as a result.
Big plays coming across from Miru there, being able to take away a Raptor camp. Lilia very quick at these objectives, and also quite a good counter jungler Skimmy, because she moves real quick. As you can kind of see, like, just able to hop away from this camp. Obviously, Lily is passive for those that haven't played. Every single time she hits an ability on a monster or a champion, she's going to get a little bit more movement speed, and she's just able to use that to kite out the jungle creep very, very nicely. Not the best blue buff or Gromp taker, but you can see still does them relatively healthy. Much better at things like the chickens and the wolf camp. And farms at a very rapid pace.
Farms at a rapid pace, but if given the uptime in a team fight, can look to farm your HP bar as well with that passive. Bit of a max HP shred. Ability to sing a lullaby and put your opposition all to sleep, especially when they're going to try and clump up as this 4-man melee roster. Could be the undoing. Makes it quite easy then for Shock to follow things up. Well, they definitely have no lack of engage and CC. We saw the interaction last game between the Ornn and the Bard to try and catch at a member, but it wasn't enough in the end. But swapping the sides. Blue buff here. We're going to see, once again, a bit of a contest over the blue buff. Obviously, it has gone away so far, but Miru's going to be the one to try and start things off. Hit by the center cannon, hit by the center roots, and then flashed upon here by Croc with double buffs, trying to burn them on down. Not going to find it just yet. Summoner's having to be used, but this time it will be the Azir matchup into the Renekton. We'll get to see how Shock can look to try and abuse that range advantage.
Yeah, and you just can't contest these neutrals if you're playing against Renekton mid lane. Because you can just see he trades his health bar to just push everyone in, and then just has so much ability to be able to win the 1v1. Croc and Claire now looking for the Lilia in the jungle. This is Miru's worst nightmare. He's been bullied off one crab. He's going to have his chicken stolen away. Top crab's pretty much gone as well, Skimmy. It's a disaster. The Karthus is going to be a problem this game, no. I feel.
Shock. That's teleport on that mid wave. Not going to get punished, however. Too close to his turret. And he's going to be able to retaliate quite effectively going into Claire here. He's going to go for one call. Now could be in lethal range. Very close to falling on down, but without any enemy or without any teammate in the area to assist. Chippies is looking, but not too keen to overexert himself.
But I think Claire just tossed his jungler the Scuttle Crab. Which, if I was Croc, I'd like, call it how it is, I'd be salty. Like, he had a free bottom scuttle into Raptors, into top scuttle off the back end of Thingant's very nice cheetah recall, going to come back with a cull. He was super healthy in that top lane. All he had to do was wait a little bit longer, stay a little bit more healthy, be able to teleport back, and that's going to be a double crab game again. It looked like it was actually picked up by Chippies, I believe, so he grabbed it before he went into the top lane. So not the biggest deal, but across the board you can see this Karthus going to be probably 2 camps up on the end of the first clear. I'm going to go back, and as all AP junglers do, after your first shot, you just hard clear the jungle. When you get Runics, it becomes even more disgusting. All the AP junglers are just so much quicker than their AD variants. It's not fair. As an AD jungle player, it's actually infuriating to play against.
I'm sure it would be, as we'll get to see really the Lilia influence on this game. We've only seen one game so far. We'll get to see how it looks to affect the meta. Not only on a global scale, but here in the OPL as well, as Tien now looks to go for a little bit of engage, the headbutt response into the wall. Want to try and find a brittle proc. Ensure that he won't be dropped too low at this stage, but it is going to be interesting to note their paths going on through. Both have now gone for the Codex, a little bit of extra CDR, a little bit of extra AP as well to help them, but you were touching on before what could have been a really good tempo play from Croc there to rotate and pick up both Scuttles. Thankfully for them, they will be able to achieve one.
And Direwolf bottom now looking aggressive.
Uh-oh, Cosmic Binding connects, he has no flash, only a Hex Flash, doesn't have the Ignite to even trade back now. As their grid expires, he gets exhausted, they're looking for that first blood, they want that kill, one more auto will do it! And there it is, Decoy will pick it up! They'll get first blood, some gold they so desperately need. And we talk about it being an ADC bot lane matchup. Well, if Vital can get the ball rolling, we know what he can do.
Yeah, really great job from the Direwolf's bottom lane. I said that it was all on Vital last game around. This time he has himself a big... Ooh, top lane.
Yeah, Tien's going to be careful. His passive has expired. There goes the shield. Now Chippy's looking for it. Doesn't have the flash. He already burnt it. You can see he went for the all-in with the ultimate. And Tien knows that he can look to just run away. He held on to his.
Okay, very interesting here, Skimmy, because this should be a free dragon right now for the Chiefs. So despite all the good things we've been mentioning, their bottom lane is on a recall. They have absolute vision over the bottom side of Summoner's Rift. They're going to get mid lane priority again off this Renekton. Croc not starting it up instantly is quite strange to me, because he could have just called the set into the river and now he might be in some trouble.
Possibly. As Set will come into the river now with the assistance of Katsuri as well. A Scuttle will spawn and the first dragon is there for the taking. An Ocean 1 at just that. A bit of extra laning sustain could never go amiss. Definitely help them out. So as the Direwolves look to try and capitalize on it. But now there are numbers in the area. The Chiefs look poised to try and take it. A four-man collapse from different angles could take place here. A Shock jumps in. Emperor's Divide pushes them away. The dragon is picked up. It all goes the way of Chiefs so far. But will they find a fight to follow things up with Decoy jumping across that wall, looking to zone out? There's the Cosmic Binding. Connects onto Katsuri. Actually, no, connects onto Draku without an ultimate. Is unable to do much more in that situation, but almost paralyzed with the options overwhelming them. They can only take out the Renekton in this situation, and now Tien responds to this top lane, hangs on to his teleport, goes in there with a Hextech ultimatum, and are responding with the Sheen procs. Flashes forward for one extra auto attack. The Requiem isn't enough, it might be just in the end, and runs away from the turret shot, survives on 100 HP, and gets, I'd say a solo kill, but maybe a solo kill and a half.
1.5 members going to be able to impact that play there, Skimmy, but a really great performance from the top laner of the Chiefs. They needed something to happen elsewhere on Summoner's Rift because that was a disastrous fight. Kind of the best news they have is that 2 of the kills so far have gone over to the Bard. But that's where the good news stopped, because they're 20 CS down in the mid lane, despite the fact that Renekton can have shoving threat here. They're 30 CS down in the bottom lane, although some of that might equalize off this wave. It was starting to look a little bit out of hand, but now they have a genuine win condition in this Camille on the top side of Summoner's Rift.
You certainly do. And Camille with a Trinity Force going into the Death Dance, Ravenous Hydra, those items, you get scared. You start to say, well, who can respond to this one? How are we going to match this Terra going into the late game? What is Decoy going to pick up with that gold? The 2 kills will give him a Swifty Boots to start things off with, continue the rotations and continue the harassment, or not making life too easy here for Croc. Just with the Direwolves now showing up their first objective of this series. They're going to go for a Herald, and it'll be interesting to see where they look to use it. Will they look to try and funnel resources once again into the Sizir, make life for player even harder? Or will they try and pressure, say, bot lane instead?
Yeah, really beautiful play here from the Direwolves, because what they did is they never showed Decoy on wards. So even though we know it's a 1v2 bottom lane, the Chiefs don't have perfect information. He could just be, you know, staying off Fog of War, giving a little bit of solo experience over to Vital. And there is no Ignite, so there's no quick kill onto the Direwolves AD carry right now. So you have to be able to respect the Fog of War power that the Direwolves have been able to maintain there to be able to pick up their first objective of this series. This early game going much better. And I do want to point out that whilst there is, you know, Camille scaling, Croc scaling, as well as the center scaling, it's not like the Direwolves composition just falls off a cliff either. No. They do have themselves in a Azir. Lilia, in her own right, Like, she has like a 15-second sleep or something. You know, I actually don't know how long that sleep lasts, because I've never seen someone live past getting slept. They just die before the CC's over.
The sleep, I do know, lasts longer than how long Nick Boy sleeps on average each night, so it lasts a bit of time. I'm sure he'll appreciate me for saying that one, but regardless, it is what it is. The situation in bot lane, as you highlight, it looking a little bit better as it stands right now, but only moments prior. Not only was that CS gap becoming a bit of a problem, but Vital's up actually 2 levels of XP. The fact that Decoy continues to rotate on through allows him to achieve so much of that, and we hype the praise towards this part of the map because it could be so influential, and this time Shock will not connect with their Imps to survive. Croc's going to flash on forward, look to try and take out the kill, but the Dawning Shadow cross map is there. They get put to sleep. It's too little too late, and the Chiefs show up in mid lane.
Yeah, that's just, once again, decisive play coming out of the Chiefs members. And if there is anything that Juves has said that I've agreed with more in my life, it's that OPL players get frustrated, they don't take the game slow, and most of the time the team that makes the decisive first play will win. Well, the Chiefs are showing us exactly that today. Multiple times now, we've just seen weaker members flash on top of people and look to get the fight started, and it has always worked out. Shock misses the Emperor Divide, and just gets clapped for it, Skimmy.
Yeah, punished hard for all the world to see right there. Unfortunate for him, that's going to push him back a little bit harder than he was looking to try and punish towards Clear. You highlight the CS differences. Well, that gives a bit of time for Clear to now build things up, ensure that Croc can continue to scale and be a nuisance. He's up by 500 in the jungle department so far, as we'll see Chippies respond back. But checking in with that gold so far, it's, you'd say, in all the right places, good leads here for the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, you want the Camille as well as the Karthus ahead, so definitely good job there. However, on the flip side, you would have to say the fact that this Ashe is ahead, you know, the fact that they've also got Azir in a better position this game, that he was also able to play mid lane. Just across the board, Direwolves also have done a better job, Skimmy. So I don't think the game's over by any stretch of the imagination. Chiefs definitely in a promising matchup. However, Plate's going to go down here in the bottom lane, and that's going to be Vital even stronger.
We did wonder whether Herald would be summoned, would it be mid or would it be bot? They want to feed into this Ashe, make sure it's as strong as possible. The turret will survive, but it's very low. All the plates will be achieved here, and it's fitting for everybody to show up in this bot lane right now, as that will be another dragon. Tempered Fate, actually anti-synergy, because it cancels out the Enchanted Arrow that Ashe is trying to use to try and take out this Karthus. A fight on 2 different fronts, fighting by the Raptors and fighting in the river. Deco looks to try and dash in aggressively, pops his flash, pops his exhaust, and he might just fall on down. Ignite one, summon a heal, comes on through, but the Requiem should be enough to take him down. There's the shutdown. A fed Bard giving gold to a Karthus. The dream situation here for the Chiefs, as the gold was working against him, but it'll do wonders to bring it back to even.
And the Chiefs have just won every single team fight in this best of 5 so far, Skimmy. Decisive on 2 fronts, being able to push out Chippies on the top side of the team fight with the Camille, with the Renekton. And then, as you mentioned, a little bit of a botched engage from the Direwolves lineup means that they just turn with this level 10 Karthus, who's already got pen item, plus his jungle item. He's a monster on Summoner's Rift. He's farming better than anyone else in the game on his team. He's 109 CS. He has the most farm on the Chiefs.
He does, and he's proving that junglers can be fed resources just as much as anybody right now, and I get terrified when a jungler is matching not only the experience but the farm as well of my solo laners. He's up ahead of this Camille so far. He's 2 levels on the Lilia as well. And if he's able to put in work with this penetration that you highlight, I mean, we looked for, you know, Oblivion Orb, Morello's later on into this game. And when the Requiem comes on through, you start to wince just a little bit.
And I wonder what items he's going to go, because I'm a firm believer of the build that you just said. I love Oblivion Orb into Deathcap, actually. Just given the fact that there is only really an Ornn that's going to be building MR. I know for a long time, however, when 80 carriers were really easily itemizing into MR, and the fact that Shock might get a Banshee's Veil, maybe this is a game where you go Burning Face in Liandry's Torment and look for the elongated team fights into a Deathcap. I think it's always cool to see exactly your own spin on these carry champions out of the jungle. Looks like Croc does favor the Oblivion Orb. He's the first level 11 on the map with Shock. He is just going to hit like a truck.
Certainly will do. And a lot of these members that do not have any magic resistance right now will be receiving true damage from that level 2 ultimate. And it's going to hurt like a truck right now. And it's what we touched on before as to, well, how are you looking to try and itemize into this one? Do you go into the armor route, or do you try and deal with this Car? Because either way, the Chiefs want to force those fights, and they say we've got multiple carries in multiple areas of this map. You can't deal with everybody. And what will the Direwolves use as their response? Well, they're going to finish off that bot lane turret, the first one of this game. And as we're looking, we have a Cloud Soul to play for. We talk about Cloud Soul not necessarily being the strongest, but I tell you what, if I'm the Chiefs and I'm saying, well, where are we right now? I love Ultimate Reduction.
Yeah, I mean, you want to kind of give 2 of your dragons back, to be honest, if you're the Chiefs, and just take 4 of them. Because he's probably got Ultimate Hunter as well. There's just no way that you do not want 4 Cloud Souls on the Karthus when he is this fed.
He's going to be quite terrifying. Wherever this action follows, no doubt, he's going to want to get himself in and amongst it, an assist to kill, whatever it might be. More gold. Ensure that he will be the terror, and that late game scaling is not even a discussion point in this series. We're going to see how Camille looks to fare now in this matchup. Has gone for the first big power spike. That's the Trinity Falls. Here comes the Tempered Fate once again. Arrow goes miss. But there goes Shock, dashing in deep, looking for that kill. The Dawning Shadow provides enough mitigation. Croc survives, still running. He's got the Defile active, he flashes into Chaos. They find one, they take 2. Ash gets a response, but the Hextech Ultimatum locks him in place. And Tien, with a beautifully orchestrated teleport, gets to the fight first and influences it better. Now Chippy's locked underneath his tier 1, tries to zone away as many people as possible. Can he get a trade back? The turret aggro will not last long enough, and that is a 16-minute ace.
Oh, go next, Skivvy. This is such a decisive game from the Chiefs. It looked like the Direwolves finally had the bottom side of the map online. They've got a 50 CS lead on their 80 carry, but the top side of Summoner's Rift for the Chiefs is just playing so well. Dragku again, able to keep Croc alive for so long. Katsuri with a brilliant ultimate, but, you know, Croc as well as Claire and Thean in these team fights are just monsters. You cannot deal with them. And as you mentioned, a 15-minute ace, plus top lane turret, plus a Rift Herald going to be picked up there. This game getting very ugly for the Direwolves very quickly.
Characteristic Chiefs performance here. You find those fights, you lay down the law, you show them what you're about and say, we do not want to bring this to the late game. We want to fight, we want to tilt you, we want this to be the perfect series. We want to lay a statement to this entire league going into playoffs that the season is one thing, but the playoffs is a whole new can of worms for us to try and juggle on through with. And I suppose really, so far from what we've seen of this Direwolves duo, we've seen a Tempered Fate, but the arrows have just not been connecting, and a lot just seems to get unstuck as a result afterwards.
Yeah, and when you fight front to back, you kind of want to be able to arrow the bruises. And I talk about this a lot of the time, but your role changes on the team, as that's very nice.
That is very good indeed. That's Croc who gets locked in place for a fair bit of time right now, but Shock's also locked in place. The ultimate's a clutch. There's the response. Decoy picks up one. Liddy's going to do the damage from a fight in the end as Claire dashes forward, slicing and dicing 2 charges, but then zoned away. He's there to sleep. It's already been used. Another dragon spawns. Well, actually, no, they're fighting in the pit itself. Chippy's forced to flash up the wall to the aid of his team that needs support and will find themselves a shutdown. The dragon is there for the taking now. Direwolves have the numbers advantage, but their health bars are not looking too healthy. And this center will do wonders to ensure that between that and these fruits, they are still looking to be the aggressors in a 3v5.
And you just do the objective so quick, right? So you always put the...
They want more though. A 2-man Tempered Fate then flashing away as it expires. So does their health bar. They're going to get knocked up. Chippy's then going to disengage away. They find one. Requiem surely is going to be enough. There's the Summoner heal, but he's got the magic penetration. You can't run away. Vision or not, we will take you down. They get the dragon. They get more kills. The Chiefs, they're just doing it all right now.
Very nice flash out of Mir. He might actually be able to get...
Oh my gosh, the passive!
What happened there? Theo just able to turn around and poke him once. It looked like the outplay was there. Claire going to also summon Rift Herald in the mid lane. Across the board right now, the Chiefs look like they're having fun skimming. Like, they're just taking brawl after brawl. They're taking scrap. When the Direwolves look like they're going to win one, the Chiefs just teleport back in. They say, all right, let's have another crack at it. They're just throwing hands left, right, and center. And I cannot stress this enough. When you are playing against the Chiefs, you do not want the game to go at a kill a minute. Because that's their win condition. And I think we spoke about it a lot in last year's playoffs. When the game is going fast, the Chiefs will win. You need to find a way to slow the pace of the game down. And unfortunately, the Direwolves, despite picking scaling, have not been able to do that. This is a 14 kill participation jungler at 20 minutes into the game.
I know it's like 100% kill participation. The guy is a monster, and I think you touch on a really fantastic point, right? I mean, turn your attention back to the first OPL Classico of the year between Legacy and the Chiefs. I think we had about 50 kills, right? And much like Legacy, you know, Direwolves fit that similar sort of scaling option of they want to play for late game, they want to slow down the tempo, they don't want to feed into the narrative that the Chiefs want to go for these fights. And, you know, Croc continues to be stronger and stronger. 9 stacks in that Dark Harvest so far. But then you see a Camille at 5-0. You start to get a little bit terrified. What can the Direwolves do here? Across map arrow, there's a knock-up. Call of the Forge God doing what it can. Dueling Shadow trying to lock members down. Tien with double buffs is forced to disengage away as the Magical Journey will take the Direwolves back into this mid lane. No casualties are lost just yet, and summoners are kept in check as a lot of them are still on cooldown. But the Chiefs are showcasing that this Baron is ours for the taking.
And you can see they have Dragku on a huge flank, has Hex Flash available as well. Could be on some vision. Very nice start.
That's huge. What do the Direwolves have to follow things up with here? They have the Emperor's Divide if they can use it. The mist is enough to disengage and give them mobility to not get caught out of place. Requiem and a Hextech Ultimatum were there as a response if the Chiefs did get jumped upon. But as it stands here, the Direwolves are going to reassert themselves in control of mid lane and look to get their second turret.
Okay, so a good stabilizing turret here for the Direwolves, and it's an important turret to take because if the Chiefs are confident enough to go hit that Baron buff, you need to be able to get mid lane wave out and be able to regain some control over that area. So taking mid tier 1, definitely going to be crucial here. As Mir actually bullies his AD carry off his camps. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Is this game going to be won by the carry Lilia? Probably not. I think they need the Ashe to have as much gold as possible here, Skimmy.
Yeah, certainly do. As you can see, he's got that Runaan's working well for him so far. Now well on his way to, you'd imagine, getting the Infinity Edge with that pickaxe in the inventory. What is the response so far from Katsuri? Well, he's got the Duskblade. He's waiting for the evolution on the Manamune. And that will no doubt not only empower his damage, but his ability to heal on top of these fights that tend to be ones that are rather healthy in favour of the Chiefs. But there's the score sheet so far, and it really tells the tale. It really is the Ashe show if you're a Direwolves fan so far, because if you look on the opposite end, big gold leads achieved by the Chiefs.
And so far in this series, I think it's like, you know, unfortunate to have to say this, but I don't think that Chippies and Shock have showed up to their usual level of performance. When I think of, you know, how I personally prepare for the Direwolves, they're the two members that I always look at. Mir's got a main Lee Sin, you just get rid of that, and the rest of the champions he plays to obviously a fantastic level. But nothing to kind of the Lee Sin quality in my opinion. But when you think about Chippies and Shock, you think about the most dangerous mid-top lane duo in the OPL. And so far, I think the Chiefs, solo laners, especially Claire on this Renekton, have done a terrific job to be able to neutralize or even exceed what the Direwolves have been able to bring. And Direwolves only have one more game after this one, Skimmy, if they lose, to be able to figure out the answer to that.
The pressure is on, they know it, we know it, and everybody at home is knowing it right now. It's Dragku just stomps on in, a 3-man face break, and they can't do much about that. Add insult to injury and pop a Requiem and take out Ashe. Vital is gone, he's the fed one, but he can't contribute anymore to this team fight. And the Chiefs will just take you down one by one, systematic but confidence exuding, so strong. People were critical of Dragku coming into this role. Could he match that of Korea CK? He was fantastic since joining the team. You talk about the Direwolves not rising up to the occasion here, but Dragku, he certainly is.
Yeah, 100% agree with you. I was really critical of Dragku last week. I said he was nearly the reason that the Chiefs went into their slump. But so far today, he has destroyed Decoy and the rest of the Direwolves lineup. That was the perfect ultimate. Collects them all with a Facebreaker. Makes it so easy to teamfight as the Chiefs. They get themselves the win soul. They get themselves the Baron buff. 5 alive, Skimmy. And in this best of 5, the Direwolves are reeling.
They are tilted, you'd have to say. A soul, a Baron, a gold lead that is starting to get bigger and bigger by the minute. Up by 7k at this stage of the game. Such a huge amount. And that's at the 25-minute mark. They are finding their style. They're utilizing their identity. And they're just not giving Direwolves any opportunity to say, let's keep it calm, let's keep it collected, let's play for the late game, let's utilize that skill, and let's get an option where we can try and showcase what we can do, what we're made of. Chiefs have a clear understanding of what they're about. They've got the early game bridge. And they're finding so much success in this mid to late.
And Croc went back and bought himself an outright Zhonya's Hourglass. He just has so much money.
As you do.
He's a full item ahead of his counterpart. He's about to be the first level 16 on Summoner's Rift nearly. He's 2 levels ahead of both the Direwolf solo laners. Skimmy, this is the Karthus that you have nightmares about.
Yeah. I would be crying myself to sleep at night if I was going into this matchup, I'll tell you that much. A 4-level difference in the jungle is huge. It's unheard of in the majority of our matches. And they're going to showcase what they are made of right now. It wasn't the strongest split for the Chiefs. They come into this one as the 4th seed. But they are showing that that standing does not represent the power, the cohesion, the understanding that they have as a squad. Undeterred by the changes coming on from split 1 to split 2. 18 kills to 7. They've got all the gold, all the XP.
He's the first 16 on the map.
They could be looking to find their first inhibitor.
That's insanity. Croc is actually the first level 16 on the map, including his own team. And you say it wasn't the best split for the Chiefs. It was actually disastrous. They finished the lowest they've ever finished in the OPL. For an organisation that's won 4 of the titles, that's got to be a tough pill to swallow. But so far, that team looks like it's gone. We're back to split 1 Chiefs right now.
Look at that damage. Shock trying to make a play right now as he jumps and he gets suppressed and flung back right to where he started. Out comes the Requiem and Decoy nearly got one shot from 50%. He has a bit of magic resistance, but I tell you what, it is not enough to slow down the pressure that the Chiefs are taking their way. Out go the emotes. The Baron buff is still running rampant, and the first inhibitor will fall on down through the mid wave. Another minion wave prepped in the bottom side. They could look for a second, and quite honestly, the world is their oyster.
Certainly is. You can see that they're going to break the base in multiple areas, but it doesn't matter. They're still 2 dead. They might just go for it here.
They want more. Decoy locked in place. The Hexic Ultimatum froze him just one of those. And he turns around and makes 6 members go gold. And it's not a trophy that he's hoping for right now because it's slipping further and further away from them. That's a 4-man knock-up. Chippies will find one. They crucially remove away this Karthus. Can they find more as a result? Shocker's on the hunt. They don't have the ultimates. The arrow isn't there as well. 2 inhibitors will be lost as the Baron buff expires.
Okay, so you get one more team fight as a Direwolves. You need to push out all of these waves. There is a Baron buff and an Elder buff available in 2.5 minutes, Skimmy. You have to be able to pick your side of the map. You have to be able to win one of the team fights at a minimum. But with the Chiefs just going back, fresh shop, they're picking up an item each pretty much. It just becomes such a grim outlook. You're 10,000 gold behind. They've got a win, so what hope do you really have as the Direwolves right now?
I don't know at this stage. That is the million-dollar question. What do they have left in the inventory? We talk about it in game number 1. Are they playing for the Elder? Is that what they're looking to really bank their success on? It's up in 2 minutes. As you quite rightly highlight, a 10k gold deficit. If you're going back on a shop and just picking up a full item, feels good as a player, feels worse as an opponent. And they're not going to take any chances here, not going to run risk or go for any ego dives. He's going to wait for those waves to pressure on through.
The last 2 shops I've seen Croc make is outright Zhonya's Hourglass, and this one was outright Voidstar. He's a 5-item jungle Karthus at 28 minutes into the game.
Just a little bit strong, as we've seen so far. You can't itemize towards him, and you can't deal with the rest of his teammates as well. So what chance do you have? That's what we're waiting. That is the question we are posing towards them. That's the Molten Edge. Much like game number 1, can Vital find the uptime? But as it stands with the Immobile AD carry, he is unable to really live long enough. He is the target. He is taken down swiftly. And they are laying their hopes on the rest of this team. We saw a bit of an interaction there from Shock. The fact that he went for the Emperor's Divide, but as soon as he did, Nat Dracu, instant response, take him out of the fight, prevent his influence, and allow the game plan to continue our way.
And I think the issue is that even though Vital has, Molten Edge, 3 items, very strong, both summoner spells available. There's a Camille and a Karthus. All Thean has to do is ult flash him, ult him. And then Croc just jumps on his head with the Defile, and he will die in half a second to this Karthus. Has no defensive item. And Karthus, unlike a lot of carries, once you kill him, he still does his damage for a really long time. So, Vital can't even turn around and win the DPS race. He just needs to position like an absolute monster. And you can see the Chiefs, they're not pushing into the base. They don't want to give the Direwolves a fight there for some reason. Instead, they want it to be in the jungle. potentially where they have better flank setup. See exactly what's happening here. They have fed over a lot of CS. It was 10,000 gold. It's now 7-ish thousand gold, 8,000 gold. However, Elder Drake, that would be a nice objective to be able to take.
Certainly would do. The wave's crashing in. The Elder starts up, down to 50. Temper Fate is there if they want to try and buy a little bit more time. Wait for Decoy to see what he's all about. They're going to look to try and lay down some stacks. Chiefs in the flank right now. They're going to look for it. There's the suplex. There's the Thorning Shadow. They're all locked in place once again. Vital is gone. No chance to use the flash there, Spawn. No chance to influence this game whatsoever. He has been the target all game long. 2 Ashe games, 2 chances to pop off, but 2 chances to fall on down. It's a flawless ace. They pick up the Elder. They don't even care about it. They just want to win, and they're going to go for the teleport in towards their space. 31 minutes and another crushing victory here. 26 kills to 8. They've shown up, they've prepared well, and they have given us a new look. New champions, new ideas, but the same outcome. Aggression, discipline, and downright dirty performances. They're going to let the minions finish the job here. And they're going to lead this series now with a match point.
And the Chiefs just look all business today. You can see just lining up at that Nexus and saying, you know what, we're not going anywhere. Guys, we're here for all of the games, and we're going to play fantastic League of Legends. Shout out to Prof. That is the single-handed most dominant jungle game I've seen of this year. That was absolutely filthy. He finished that game as the main carry for his team, but across the board right now, the Chiefs look like they're on the exact same page. But if you're the Direwolves, Skimmy, you have been here before. You've been 0-2 down in playoffs, and you've had to fight your way back. This is elimination point right now. They need to step up.
They certainly do. And match point is what they're facing. We're going to jump to a quick break. The players, no doubt, need it. If you're a Chiefs fan, you're loving life right now. But as a Direwolves fan, you're a little bit upset. You hope to see what they can bring out in a game number 3 to turn this series around. We're going to jump to a quick break. We'll see you soon.
Today is the NeoSurf Cup, and we're going to be playing against Misfits. So hopefully we can bring home the win.
NeoSurf is simple, safe and secure. You can go to your local shop and get a voucher code and use it online, preferably to buy League of Legends skins.
He's got it! This is deadly! He's got it!
If you're craving the taste of your favourites, head to Macca's for a fast, safe and contactless drive-through experience. For your Macca's run, contact free, we'll be here.